in STEM and STEAM advocate. I also am a science communicator, a content creator. I hail from the local PBS NPR station in the Southern Tier. I spent about just shy of 15 years with them, and then have worked with PBS Kids, PBS programming on creating engaging family events, and with out of school time and how to create out of school time clubs. And so what we're going to be doing today is going through how are you going to take the information and actually use this in your capacity to create your own club. As Abby said, this is going to be a two-part series. So I'm going to highlight what we're actually going to go over today and how that's going to differ from our next session, which is in June. Okay, there we go for the advancing. So I know that this is a small group. I don't know how comfortable everybody is with just unmuting themselves. If you would prefer to share in the chat, I'd love to know who you are, what age group of students do you work with, and what are you hoping to get out of today's session? Any brave souls?
I can go.
Awesome.
So yeah, my name is Emily Obuya. I am trying to start a STEM club down here in Troy, New York. Looking for elementary and middle school students. And yeah, just bringing in different kinds of, it's predominantly a Black neighborhood, so I really want to make STEM accessible by bringing the club into the community. So I'm trying to really understand what are the dynamics of, it's been really difficult. I started that last year, and I've been trying to just run that in my spare time, which I don't have very much of. So I'm just trying to understand if there are resources out there that I can tap into, financial or training or otherwise, that can help me manage the day-to-day. And at this point, I'm only doing it on Saturdays because that's the only time that I can. But I'm thinking if I wanted to expand it, you know, how that might look like and what resources are out there to help facilitate this club for me. So that's what I'm hoping to get from this session. Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds really exciting. How long has the club been going, Emily?
I started it in 2023, so beginning of the year, January. So maybe a year and a half.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about that as we move through. We're definitely going to talk about different resources and ways to help build capacity and ways to be able to bring in additional people to help. I love that you are infusing your club into the community. Anybody else would like to share, or you're also welcome to write into the chat.
Hello, my name is Nelson Diaz. I stopped a little bit and stand up. So what was the question? So it's a presentation by myself, something like that?
The question is, what are you hoping to get out of this session? What age group of students do you work with? And where are you located?
Okay, so we are located in New Jersey, specifically in the Bronx area. We are in an after-school program. We start in October in 2023, and well, I'm a director of the after-school program also. And my idea is to learn more about how to apply the STEM knowledge that well, actually I am IT engineer, but I don't have so much experience teaching to kids, you know, to engage to groups, how to manage everything about the stands. So my idea is to try to understand how to how to proceed in the classroom, how to organize the classroom, what is the best option that you provide to how to separate kids by age, the old stuff.
Okay, great. Yeah, so really talking about those fundamentals of the STEM club. Well, I think you are in the right location. Thank you, everybody who shared. For those of you who weren't able to, it would be great if you could type that into the chat. But today we are going to cover the key components of how do you actually create this STEM club. What are some of the considerations? What are the logistics that you need to go over? And how do you find partners to help you? How do you find role models to come into your programming? And club activities. What do we do for club activities? We're actually going to dive deep into the club activities next session. And today is going to be kind of setting up that mission and age group and all the different components of those things to think about. So when we're talking about a STEM club and its objectives, what is it? Why do we need to define what our STEM club is?
Well, the word STEMs come from science, technology, math. The E, I forgot the E, but so this is the STEM stand for, and the idea is to apply all these all these particular features in the word to the program. To teach science, teach technology, teach math also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that E was engineering. So you're an IT engineer. So you're already a great role model within your program, which is really cool. So yeah, a STEM club, it's student-led or it's educator-facilitated, and it provides that platform for engaging science, technology, engineering, math activities outside of the traditional classroom setting. So there's a lot of opportunity to spend more time doing critical thinking. Also, project-based learning is a great way to have more time because you have these students outside of that classroom setting. So the objectives of a successful STEM club is we want to get these kids excited about STEM. There are so much exciting things happening. Science is all around you all the time. The STEM clubs provide that opportunity for hands-on learning that complements what students are learning in the classroom. So knowing what your teachers are doing, what age group, that curriculum is incredibly helpful for you as you are planning out some of those activities. It gives more opportunity for that problem solving, teamwork, building, innovation, creativity, and really preparing your students for future STEM careers. And you can also do that through role models coming in as well. So the benefits of a STEM club, there are so many, but really for students, it's an opportunity for them to take what they're learning in school and apply that through doing different activities. One of the things with school is, right, we have our English time, and then we have our math time, and then we have our science time. But all of that is woven together, especially when, they graduate and they come out into the world. You're at work and you're like, okay, well, it's English time. I got to go write my grants. And no, it's math time. So now I need to work on my budgets. It's interwoven into everything that you do. So this gives a huge benefit for students to see how all of that comes together in one project or opportunity like this. They're going to really work on developing their skills like communication, teamwork. Those are really big skills that transfer into all different STEM disciplines and careers. They're going to have the opportunity to see people that are in STEM fields by having role models come in. And they get to see that their peers are also into STEM and that they're really enjoying these activities. It's not just them. There's other people out there that like STEM too. So for the educators, the benefits of the STEM club are this does supplement a classroom curriculum with engaging activities. So if you are a teacher during the school day, this is another outlet for you to do an extension of some of the things that you're doing in the classroom, if that applies to you. You are able to refine some teaching methods for more interactive learning, which is a really kind of a nice way of trial and error with students and what's working great. And you can connect with your students on a deeper level outside of the classroom. So good benefits for them and for you. And there's even benefits for the community. It creates students who are excited about STEM careers and going into a STEM profession. It helps enhance that public interest and understanding of STEM fields. So when these students are going home and they're talking to their families about the things that they're doing, this really helps to build what's called a STEM identity, not only within the child, but also within their family, and seeing how some of the everyday things that they do are STEM based. And it also provides opportunities for community partnerships and volunteer engagement. So I think volunteers, Emily, would be really excellent for your programming. It also creates awareness of what's happening within the school and the after school programs. So some examples of success and impact. One of the programs that I have led multiple different times in different ways is a SciGirls after school STEM club. This STEM club was focused on engaging middle school girls who took upper elementary, so 5th through 8th grade, depending on what school I was working with. And we were engaging girls and non-binary youth and creating opportunities for them to do relevant, exciting STEM activities. And when we did this, we thought about, okay, the space that these girls are going to be in needs to be exciting and welcoming. The curriculum needs to be something that's relevant and personal to them. Role models are incredibly important. We brought a lot of role models into the programs to show them examples like, this is what an IT engineer looks like. This is what they like to do on the weekend. These are some of the jobs that they do. And it varies so much from each different profession. So it was a great success, and we've replicated this many different ways and varying between age groups. Another successful STEM club that I have worked on was with a PBS KIDS show called Ready, Jet, Go. And this was for kindergarten through 2nd grade students and their families. So this was a way to engage families and students. We did this one during the pandemic, so it was done virtually. And we provided the students with items beforehand. So for all the activities that we were going to be doing and leading virtually, we had care packages that were touchless. When parents would come to pick up the items, we would have everything for their child. There was a variety of ways that we would communicate and get that information or materials to them. It was a space-themed curriculum because Ready, Jet, Go is a PBS Kids show all about space. We had a role model and a guest come in from the community. This program was based in the Southern Tier, and Doug Hurley is a NASA astronaut, and he is from the greater Endicott area. So he came in and actually talked with the students, again, virtually in the space. So it was neat because the families also joined in and were able to have that interaction with Doug Hurley, which was pretty cool. And then when we were looking at, okay, how would we find money and funding for this? There was funds via PBS. And then we also worked with our local foundations to be able to get money to purchase the items and give those out to families. I think one of the really great things about this program is thinking about how can you do activities with a low overhead? How can you do this with minimal materials so that you can replicate this on a larger scale versus purchasing maybe everything for your students? So one of the first things you need to think about with, okay, I want to do a STEM club. I know that I want to be doing this. Okay, what are we going to do? So the first thing you really want to think about is what's your mission? You know, why do you need a mission for your STEM club? and you can unmute and answer. You can certainly type something in the chat.
I don't know if the question is why, but when I start the program, it was because another person in the area that works with childcare, they start the program. They suggest me, why don't I suggest to them, why don't start in after school with these characteristics? Why? Because when I came in to from Dominican Republic, I realized that, for instance, in the Bronx area, there's no any program like that, or no many programs. For instance, you can see that in Manhattan and downtown, or areas with the people can afford it. In this area specifically, you don't find a lot of programs like that because they're expensive. And actually, I start because I start to teach my sons. My idea was to enroll my kids in one of the programs, but it was like a 700 a week, and I was not able to pay that. So that's where I started the program.
So it sounds like one of the reasons that you had started this program, right, was to create an opportunity for the youth in your neighborhood so that they're not out doing other things, that we're keeping them safe, we're keeping them focused on something. And so absolutely, that's a great place to start when you're thinking about, okay, why are we actually doing this? But then we need to bring that in a little bit tighter and think about, okay, we are going to do this. What do we want our kids to get out of this? What are the impacts that we want to make with our students? And so when we're thinking about defining what your club mission is, it really is the why behind your club. So for an example of a mission statement would be to ignite a passion for STEM exploration by providing engaging hands-on learning experiences that foster creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. So this one's a little elaborate. It can be whatever it is going to fulfill your program and help you achieve the goals that you want to. And so I have a form that we are going to walk through and spend some time thinking about why are we doing our clubs? What's the whole entire point of this? Which is going to help us drill down to our themes and then be able to plan activities and items out of that. Abby, can you share the SMART goals, a link to the SMART goals checklist to everybody in the chat, please? And so Abby is going to share this link. I'm going to ask that you go to the link. You can either open it right up into a Google Doc. And I'm going to ask that you make a copy of this file. When you make a copy of it or you download it right to your own computer, you can edit and use this brainstorming checklist to help you walk through the things that you're going to need when you are designing your STEM club. And you can put your notes right in there. And that way we're not typing over each other. And we're going to go through and start working on this today, but there's definitely a lot of great information. I put more information that we're going to dive into just as a point of reference for you, especially after this session is done. I always find that to be helpful with classes that I'm taking, that I have a little bit of extra information that I can always look back to. So if you were able to open that document, make a copy, can you reply in the chat or unmute and say, let me know that you are ready to walk through some of it?
It says they need access. Emily is saying, so I was afraid that would happen. Never do that.
Apologies. We're getting there. The text been a little.
Yeah, let me change it. It was my bad. Okay. Try again. Try the link again and see.
Awesome. Thank you. So while everybody is doing that, I want to start with thinking about the first part of your mission statement. And, you know, it might seem to you like, well, I just want to like get these kids and start doing activities. When you want to have a STEM club where you're asking foundations for funding, or you're working with partners, or you're bringing role models in, having more of a formal set to this STEM club will really help you communicate what you're looking for to these partners. So for businesses that you're looking for donations, or again, those role models, it helps you to really define where you want your students to go and what everybody's going to get out of this project. Okay, so if you have that link and you've downloaded it, this is a mission statement worksheet along with setting our SMART goals. And the point of this is really to have a lasting positive difference on your students, right? And the ones that you're working with. So when we're crafting that mission, we want to be thinking about, well, what's the point? What's the core objective? What are you trying to achieve? Who are you doing this with? Are you working with all students? Are you working with grades 3 through 5? Usually that's a really nice age group to put together. Are you working with 6 through 8? Are you working with girls and non-binary youth? You know, this also is where you would talk about who you're working with. And then we're going to talk about those values that will help guide our activities. So when we're thinking about values, these are things that represent what you want to instill in your members, your students, your kids that are coming to this. So what are those core values? I have some as an example up on the screen, but what would be core values to your club with your students? You can unmute, you can write them in the chat. You can write them in your worksheet, but you can also share with the group. What are the core values that you hope your students get from being part of this program? Does anybody want to share? A shy group. Oh, Emily, thank you. Collaboration, communication, and empowerment. I really like that. Those are great core values. Emily, were you able to download the SMART goals worksheet?
Yeah, but I can't work on it because I'm kind of multitasking right now. But I appreciate it. I'll be able to go back later when it's quiet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no judgment here. Everybody's doing multiple things. I totally understand that. Yeah, so right here in the first section, in the core values, this is where Emily is going to have her collaboration, her communication, her empowerment. I love that word. Nelson, hands-on learning. Yes, absolutely. So one of those values is making sure that everybody is doing something with those hands. That's fantastic. Any other core values? Okay, well, if everybody's got similar core values, we can now talk about impact. So we've got the core of what we want our students to do. We want them to collaborate with each other and with other people in the program. We want to empower them by helping to build that STEM identity so that they see themselves as scientists and engineers. We want to give them those hands-on learning opportunities. So in that document, we have a section called impact. And just in case you don't have it in front of you, I'm just going to kind of walk through this. So this section of impact is thinking about what is the positive impact that you hope that your club is going to have on students' learning and their future aspirations or future opportunities for them.
We are living in the world. Technology and aesthetics more important every day. Actually, I guess there's no any other profession that is not related to technology and in some ways. If it's marketing, if it's finance, if it's other things, all is related to technology. That's for, I guess it's
And so that's the main focus of your club with your students, right?
Yes, exactly. So the idea is to encourage to, even though to the technology and not afraid about not just technology, math and science area.
That's great, right? So I mean, it sounds like your future aspirations for your students is to show them that technology is part of all of those things. If you want to do a marketing degree, and then with marketing, there's so many different things, right? Some of that social media, some of that is, creating awareness. Marketing is a big. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, my point is that even though my students don't want to select technology profession or any profession related to the science, at least they have that knowledge or they can teach that knowledge to apply later and other things, even though that they don't follow that way in the life.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So after you've had an opportunity to either jot something down, either on a piece of paper or using that worksheet, thinking about that positive impact that you want your club to have on those students with their future aspirations and the things that they're going to learn, you can take those core values that you shared with me and those impact statements of what you want the STEM club to impact your students and put those together into a mission statement. And these can be super simple. They don't need to be elaborate. It just helps to focus that I'm going to be working with this group of students. I wanted to do a space-themed camp or technology camp, or we're going to focus on all of the STEM disciplines and what you're hoping for them to get out of it. And so there's a spot in there to write what that is, and you are welcome to share your mission statement or the beginning of your mission statement, however you would like to do that. Excuse me. On the screen, I have just some samples, and I'm going to go ahead and read them. They are pretty small. I will have the slide deck available to you, but these really are more of just an example or a point of reference. I didn't want to put them in that worksheet because I didn't want to make it too much information. I wanted to keep it super focused for you as you work through it. So if you're going to do a STEM club that just has a general focus, this might be your mission statement: to ignite a passion for science, technology, engineering, and math in all students by providing engaging, interactive learning experiences that foster critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration skills, which talked, I think, a lot to the things that Emily wants to do. If yours is focused more on entrepreneurship, your mission statement would be to cultivate an entrepreneurial spirit in students through using STEM education, providing those opportunities to design and build, present innovative projects, foster that creativity, help that teamwork build, and learning about business and how they would take that to the next step. And then there's one that is specific with girls. So again, this will be available for you to go ahead and read through. and see how you might want to adapt some of those examples into the work that you're doing. Which brings us down to our SMART goals. So SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they are time bound. So again, thinking about this at the beginning of your club helps to make sure that you are living up to that mission, but then you're able to also make sure you're doing all the things that you set out to do. So a SMART goal, as an example, would be increase student participation in STEM-related competitions by 20% within the next school year. And that's a lofty goal by 20%. So thinking about those SMART goals, another example would be you basically just want to get a STEM club up and going. You know, that's part of your STEM club. So you're going to launch this after school program this fall, and you are going to increase your students, your participants' awareness and opportunities in STEM fields and careers. So your STEM club is really going to have a focus on bringing role models into your program. That would be an example of that. And so as you are designing your program, I want you to think about that you don't need to be doing all the different pieces. You can pull on different resources for people to help you. You are kind of that director. You're the person pulling things together and say, we're going to do these things, but I need you to help with this, and I need you to help with that. You know, don't be afraid to ask other people to get on board with what you're doing, because people are very excited about working with kids, and especially working with STEM. There's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of partnerships and organizations that would be happy to jump on board and help make your STEM club successful. So once you are done with thinking, okay, like what's our SMART goal going to be? What is our program objective? We want to start thinking through some of those logistics. Abby, can you put the STEM planning checklist in the chat, please? And so this is where we get down to the nitty gritty, you know, thinking about, okay, how are we actually going to plan this out? And again, like this is a big overview, especially for people who haven't done a STEM club, or you haven't formalized your STEM club. Thank you, Abby. All the things you want to think about, and even some extra things. There's lots of opportunity on this checklist and worksheet to write different notes, but you can also check things off as you go, and you can write your own things in here. So Abby put the link into the chat. You can go there. You can make a copy of that. You can download it. And once you have that, you can type or write directly into it. You can print it out. You can share it, all of those different things. So thinking about, you really want to dive into your meeting schedule. How often are you going to meet with these students? Because that's important. So you want to talk about the frequency. What is going to work for your schedule, for the other volunteers or educators that are part of it? What's going to work for the students? An example would be when I was putting together our SciGirl after school program, we were only going to meet, at one time, we were only going to meet once a month. And so by meeting once a month, we met for 2 hours at a time. And that worked out great because it gave us a longer period of time to work on those hands-on activities that needed more critical thinking opportunities, right? If we were going to be meeting weekly, maybe we're only meeting for an hour or 45 minutes. You know, whatever it is that works best for you, but also thinking about your kids, what's going to work best for them. So having that feedback is super helpful. And times and days of the week, right? Thinking about what's going to work. When are you going to get your maximum kids available? Next, you want to think about location. Where are you actually going to have this? And some of you have created your STEM clubs right in either a school, if you are a teacher working there, but there's lots of other opportunities. There's community centers, there's libraries. They are always available and welcoming to the community, so which is really fantastic. And a lot of libraries have resources that you can pull for your STEM club. They have some of them have maker spaces, so you could even get your students in there using some of those new materials, which would be really cool. You do want to think about transportation, and that is a potential barrier for students. So having a location that is too far removed from families is going to be tricky. So that is something that you definitely want to be considering. And then communicating. How are we going to tell people we're having this club? How are we going to get the parents involved? We need the school administration checking off on this. There is guardian permission slips, especially if you are going to be taking field trips anywhere. Another thing to think about is the media consent forms. So you definitely want to be taking pictures of your kids when they are at someone's business doing an activity, or maybe you have a role model coming in. Being able to capture that is super important, especially for sharing what your club is doing. And why that's important is it helps you be able to get some funding dollars by showing, look at the impact that we're having. We brought this person in and kids were so excited and this is what they talked about. It helps to tell the story of what you're doing in your STEM club. So I highly recommend that you don't overlook getting a media consent form. And that would be something that your students' guardians would sign off on that. Sometimes if you are doing this in a school setting or an after school setting, the district already might have a blanket form. You just need to know that your club would be able to use those images that you take during your sessions. And that information is on that STEM club planning checklist and worksheet. You also want to get permission from administrators if you need that, if you're in that space. IT people as well. If you need to be accessing technology, that's also something you want to consider on that checklist, is making sure that you would have access to Wi-Fi at the location and different apps or websites like YouTube as an example. You know, are you going to use any of that content in your STEM club? You need those IT people to maybe to unlock or allow that for your kids to get on there. So all different types of things to think about there. Budgets. This is the super fun stuff, right? But it is incredibly important. When you're thinking about your STEM club, coming up with an estimate of costs for materials and equipment. And that's, again, it's an estimate. So if you know that you are going to be doing some space theme activities and you were pulling that curriculum, you already know some of the items that you're going to need. What are the higher cost items that you're going to need? Guest speakers, are you going to offer them anything? Field trips, and usually guest speakers don't ask for anything, but it is something to consider, or maybe just a nice little thank you card from your students would be awesome. If you're going to take your students anywhere, do you need transportation costs? Snacks and refreshments. This one's super important. Your students, if you're doing this after school, they're hungry, they're tired, they need a transition time of about 10 to 15 minutes. So having snacks that you can either get from the school or something that you can work into your budget would be great. You can also get those donated, letting people know this is our STEM club, this is what we're doing. Can you donate snacks to us? And be very specific with what you're looking for. And in that worksheet, there is a section on developing your budget and your resource plan. So again, it doesn't go super, super deep, but thinking about your materials, how much is that going to cost? Is it going to be $1,000 for 4 months? Is there any special equipment, and or can you borrow or find that somewhere else? And then who's the potential funding source for that? Is that a grant that you're going to go for? There's local foundations that will support STEM clubs, especially if there's maybe a specific girls only STEM club. There are foundations that do support just that kind of STEM club. So lots of opportunities for different funding sources there. Emily, you have a question on, do you need insurance liability? That's a great question. If you are doing this in partnership with an organization, the organization typically would oversee, because they already have that insurance on their building. So if I was doing this, for example, in a school, I would have the administration sign off, and so they know that we're there and the parents have signed off, right? So we're covered under that school. Now, I think that there's a line there too, like if we start, setting off really large rockets or things where there might be potential for increased accidents or safety, that might eventually be a concern for your host. The libraries, again, they were the ones who are going to carry that liability insurance. So having a partner work with you is incredibly important. If you're doing this completely on your own and you don't have a spot that you are partnering with, that would be something that you would probably need. And I'm happy to discuss that further offline if you would like to. That's a great question. Okay, partnerships. Partnerships are absolutely huge. Does anybody want to share any partnerships that you either currently have or that you would hope to have with your STEM club? And if you don't have partnerships now, totally fine. But I would love to know what future partners you would like to see be part of your STEM club, because we might be able to help make those connections for you. Well, with partnerships, you do want to be clear when reaching out to whoever this partner might be. It might be a business, it might be a university. Universities are great for pulling undergrad students to come into your program to assist with an activity. They might even bring all the materials, which would be really cool. And so when you are reaching out to these organizations, be very clear, this is our STEM club, this is who we're serving, this is our mission, and this is what we would love to do, or we don't necessarily might not even know what you have to offer, but we want a STEM activity. How can we partner and do this? A lot of businesses and organizations are looking and would love to get involved with STEM clubs, but they don't necessarily know how to find these STEM clubs. So you have the kids, they have either funding and or role models or different opportunities, and to be able to bring those together, it's great for you, and it's also good for the organization. It does take time to build those partnerships, so you do want to be patient. And if you reach out to a potential partner and you have shared all that information and you don't hear back within, let's say, a couple of weeks, reach out again. And then with your second time you're reaching out, I am just touching base. We're going to get started soon on whatever the theme is. Can you let us know within the next 2 weeks? At that point, I would put a timeline on there if you are able to partner with us or not. And if you can't now, that's totally fine. But maybe in the future, we could do something together. So different ways to reach out and start to establish and build those partnerships, which are really, really key. Role models. So we've been talking a little bit about role models. They are absolutely such a key component to this. And you are a role model to your students in these STEM outreach clubs. Role models help your students to see someone like them doing STEM activities. It helps to increase their interest, especially if they have a connection with that role model. So that's why it's important to bring in so many very different role models from different disciplines, different backgrounds, different cultures, and have an opportunity for your students not only to ask questions of those role models and interact with an activity, but to have time for talking about things that aren't STEM focused as well. So that really offers a nice opportunity on making that connection. And there's a lot of wonderful resources talking about the benefits and the research that goes into role models. They have an absolute enormous impact on your kids. We're going to dive more into role models into our second session that's going to be happening in June, because I'm going to be talking about how they pair up with curriculum. Another component that is really important for your STEM club that I think a lot of people don't do just because of time, and it also seems maybe it's daunting. Like, I don't know how to put together an evaluation. I don't know how to do surveys. I'm not sure how to capture this information from my kids and their families. This is a super important part of your STEM club because it shows what your students learned. So if you have a pre-survey and you ask the students, some questions about baseline knowledge, like, are they aware that you can do X, Y, and Z with technology? And then at the very end of your STEM club, you would give that same survey and see how their knowledge has grown through your project. So that's a great way. Doing what's called an exit interview or an exit ticket. These are done after one activity. So an example of an exit ticket, it's a scrap piece of paper. You put one question on the board or, wherever your kids can see it, or you ask them, what was the most important thing you learned today? What was the favorite thing you learned today? What would you like to do next time? What did you not like about today's activity? And their honesty here is really important because it helps you be able to be responsive and change those things as the club goes on. Another thing I strongly encourage is gather testimonials from your kids and from their guardians that you can use when looking for funders. We're doing this STEM club. We need some funding from a foundation or a business. And I can show that our club is making an impact on students because here is a testimonial from one of our students. And when you do that, you only want to have their first name. You can certainly have an identifier of what grade they are, but you don't want to put their full names on there because these are minors that you're working with. So I know what we just went through a lot of information in a short period of time. That's why I created those checklists and worksheets that you were able to download, because it walks through different pieces of how do you think about creating that budget. Partners, where do I go to start looking for them? In that checklist and worksheet, there are examples of potential partners from around New York State. It's a small list. It's not exhaustive, which I'm sure you would have tons of ideas and partners to add to that, which I would love to hear more about what you are also doing. I did want to share that the second part of this STEAM Learning webinar series is going to be on June 6th. Abby has put the registration into the chat, and it's going to be talking all about curriculum. So where do we go to find activities and different themes for the STEM adventures that you're going to be doing with your students? So it's all going to be activities. It's going to be how to find these activities, how and when to infuse those role models, and also talking about if you have questions from today, that would be a great place to also bring them up. So that's happening in June. And in the meantime, if you do have questions of anything that I talked about, please feel free to reach out to me. And my email is right there. And I would be happy to talk more about this with you. I'm going to open it up to questions. And I want to thank you all for being here today. So if you have any questions, you stick around, answer those. And I'm not sure, Abby, if you have any closing remarks you need to make, but thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That was great. I'm looking forward to the second session too. So I did add the registration for the second session in there if you want to use that to sign up now if you haven't already. As well, there is a link to a survey that we just wanted to get some thoughts about how this went for you, any ideas that you have for other sessions. So you're welcome to put that into, that just helps us a lot in what we can provide you in the future too. And then again, if you have any questions for Nancy, please ask away.
Thanks, Nancy. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank
Bye.
you for coming, Emily.